Part 1. The arms race between superpowers, the emergence and development of ballistic missiles. In the modern world, nothing symbolizes the assertion of power and national defense more strongly than ballistic missiles. From the early 20th century, when military science began focusing on the development of long-range weapons, ballistic missiles quickly became a symbol of supremacy in modern warfare. However, this also marked the beginning of a dangerous arms race. With the starting point being the fierce competition for military dominance between the superpowers of the 20th century, the United States and the Soviet Union. 1. The beginning of the nuclear arms race. It all began at the end of World War II, when major nations realized the devastating power of nuclear weapons. After the United States developed and used atomic bombs to attack Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, the battle for control over nuclear weapons began. The Soviet Union, with its equally ambitious goals, quickly developed its own nuclear bomb in 1949. Across oceans, and strike targets on the other side of the world. The emergence of ballistic missiles, or ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, was a pivotal moment in the nuclear weapons revolution. These missiles could carry nuclear warheads and travel intercontinentally, from one country to another, quickly and efficiently. ICBMs increased deterrence capabilities and became a key component in national defense. 2. The United States, the leader in the missile race. The United States made significant strides in the development of its nuclear missile arsenal as early as the 1950s. The development of ICBMs began in the 1950s, when the US realized that a nuclear attack could easily be intercepted if relying solely on aircraft or warships. Ballistic missiles became the ideal weapon for precise and swift attacks. Missiles like the Atlas, Titan, and Minuteman became symbols of US military power throughout the following decades. Meanwhile, in 1957, the Soviet Union launched its R-7 intercontinental ballistic missile, marking the beginning of a missile arms race between the US and the Soviet Union. Although early Soviet missiles were not as powerful as those of the US, they still created significant instability and concern in Western defense policies. 3. The Soviet Union, the equal rival of the US. The development of Soviet ICBMs began in the mid-1950s when they unveiled the first missiles capable of carrying nuclear warheads to strike the US. Although Soviet missiles initially faced issues with range and accuracy, the Soviet Union quickly improved its technology and became a formidable rival to the US in the nuclear arms race. In 1959, the Soviet Union successfully tested their R-9 ballistic missile, which could strike distant targets in the US. This development was a testament to the Soviet Union's determination to regain the military upper hand in the global arms race. This competition was not just a race for technology but also a battle between two opposing political systems, the capitalist ideology of the US and the communist ideology of the Soviet Union. Each side sought to prove itself as the dominant military power, not only to protect national security but also to exert influence in strategic regions such as Eastern Europe, East Asia, and the Middle East. 4. China, the emergence of a new power. In the 1960s, China, a nation on the rise, also entered the nuclear arms race. Although China did not develop ICBMs as quickly as the US or the Soviet Union, it made steady progress in developing short and medium-range missiles. This development was not only for bolstering China's defense but also a declaration of the country's entry into the ranks of global military powers. China began developing nuclear-capable ballistic missiles, such as the DF-5, capable of targeting land and sea-based targets. These missiles were not only symbols of military strength, but also reflected China's ambitions to become a major military power in its own right. 5. The growing sophistication of new missiles. With technological advancements, nations focus not only on the quantity of missiles but also on their quality. By the 1970s, supersonic missiles began to emerge, capable of traveling at speeds over 5 times the speed of sound. These missiles could penetrate modern missile defense systems, giving nations that possess them a significant advantage. The US and the Soviet Union became the leading powers in the development of hypersonic missiles and cruise missiles, aiming to enhance their strategic capabilities and defense options. At the same time, missile defense systems like the Terminal High-Altitude Area Defense were developed, capable of intercepting ballistic missiles in their terminal phase. 6. The end of the Cold War, a new world era. The nuclear missile arms race between the US and the Soviet Union reached its peak during the final years of the Cold War, but after the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, the world entered a new era. Although the Cold War was over, countries continued to develop their own missile defense and ballistic missile systems, increasing their missile defense capabilities to counter potential threats from other nations. Since then, many countries, including India, Pakistan, North Korea, and Iran, have joined the arms race, developing their own ballistic missile systems. Today's world is no longer a simple race between superpowers but a competition for power and status among many nations. With ballistic missiles playing a crucial role in military strategy and national security. This arms race is far from over, as nations continue to improve their missile technologies and strengthen their missile arsenals. Despite international arms control agreements, the development of missiles and nuclear weapons remains a central factor in shaping the global order. Part 2. The deepening missile race, the development and confrontation of superpowers. The missile race in the 1960s was not only a reflection of weapons technology development but also a tense psychological, strategic, and political battle between the superpowers. The US and the Soviet Union were not just competing in terms of missile quantity and quality but also in building defense systems, deterrence capabilities, and maintaining military power. 1. The U.S. Missile Technology Enhancement. By the 1960s, the arms race between the U.S. and the Soviet Union had shifted from a race of missile quantity to a race for the enhancement of missile quality and range. The U.S., with its superior achievements in weapons technology, successfully developed long-range ICBM systems, including the Minuteman and Titan missiles. These missiles could target locations within the Soviet Union, while also creating a strong deterrence capability due to their swift and precise response. However, the development of these missiles was not an easy process. The early Minuteman missiles faced significant challenges with accuracy and stability in their trajectories. But with continuous investment in research and development, the U.S. perfected these missiles, creating an immensely powerful and intimidating ICBM system throughout the 1960s. 2. Soviet response, SS-18 and hypersonic missiles. In response to the U.S.'s significant missile advancements, the Soviet Union was determined not to fall behind. By the late 1960s, the Soviet Union developed a series of its own ICBMs, with prominent missiles such as the SS-18 Satan. This missile was one of the most powerful systems, capable of carrying multiple nuclear warheads and having an extensive range to cover entire continents. This not only boosted the Soviet Union's ability to strike precisely, but also solidified its position in the arms race. The emergence of the SS-18 missile fundamentally changed the Cold War landscape, forcing the U.S. to quickly develop missile systems capable of countering this powerful weapon. The SS-18 was designed to carry a significant number of nuclear warheads, causing the U.S. to rethink its defense strategy. In particular, by the late 1960s, the Soviet Union had also begun researching and developing hypersonic missiles, which could travel at speeds greater than 5 times the speed of sound. These missiles not only had the capability to bypass U.S. missile defense systems, but also marked a new chapter in the missile race. 3. The Cuban Missile Crisis, direct confrontation between the U.S. and Soviet Union. At this point, the Soviet Union had begun deploying medium-range missiles carrying nuclear warheads in Cuba, just off the U.S. coast. This not only posed a direct threat to U.S. national security but also intensified tensions between the two superpowers in the Cold War. When U.S. satellites detected the presence of Soviet missiles in Cuba, President John F. Kennedy immediately ordered a naval blockade of Cuba to prevent further missile shipments. This crisis brought the world to the brink of nuclear war, with both sides poised to launch missiles at each other. However, after tense negotiations, the Soviet Union agreed to remove the missiles from Cuba. While the U.S. promised not to attack Cuba and secretly agreed to remove missiles from Turkey, a crucial but unpublicized agreement. 4. The development of missile defense systems. The Cuban Missile Crisis also marked a pivotal moment in the development of missile defense systems. As a result, they began researching and developing missile defense systems like the anti-ballistic missile ABM system. These defense systems were not only designed to protect critical targets but also to intercept enemy ICBMs during their flight stages. 5. The race for advanced technologies and new weapon development. Hypersonic missiles, cruise missiles, and nuclear weapon systems were developed in abundance. Both nations poured vast amounts of resources into research and development to ensure that their missile arsenals remained superior. Hypersonic missiles, traveling at speeds beyond Mach 5, became one of the most highly anticipated technologies. Both the US and the Soviet Union invested heavily in the creation of these missiles, aiming to surpass the missile defense systems their opponents were deploying. However, the development of hypersonic missiles was not just a race for speed but also for accuracy and the ability to penetrate advanced defense systems. 6. Failures and theories on missile weaponry. While the missile race led to tremendous technological advancements, it was also accompanied by several major failures. In the 1960s, many missiles developed by both the US and the Soviet Union encountered serious issues with accuracy and stability during tests. This forced nations to reconsider their weapon development strategies. One common theory during this period was the use of ballistic missiles not just for offensive strikes but for deterrence. With the increasing number of nuclear warheads, both nations understood that a nuclear strike could lead to global devastation. This led the superpowers to try and maintain strategic balance, with the ability to attack and defend both being critically important. Conclusion: the arms race continues. The missile race between the US and the Soviet Union during the 1960s was not just a race for weapons but a battle for political, military, and scientific influence. Both nations continuously developed advanced missile systems to maintain superiority, but they also faced significant risks in deploying these weapons. This arms race not only reshaped military strategy but also defined the global order for the following half-century. The missile race, while partially tempered by treaties and diplomatic efforts, continues to play a central role in global geopolitics.